Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. When was the last time worrying ever actually fixed anything? We sit around paralyzed, chewing on our fingernails, obsessing over what ifs and worst case scenarios. And for what? Worry doesn't sharpen your mind. It doesn't unlock your potential. Worry is like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do but gets you absolutely nowhere. The truth is worry never leads TOSUCS. Period. Success comes from clarity, from action, from facing the chaos and punching through it. You think champions sit in dark corners worrying themselves into greatness. No, they train, they act, they fail forward. So today we're going to cut through the noise, slap the fear in the face, and get real about what it takes to stop worrying and start winning. Let's go. Worry is a liar. It predicts pain, not progress. That's the first thing you need to understand if you're ever going to break free from the mental cage most people live in. Worry shows up dressed like preparation, like caution, like intelligence. But underneath that disguise, it's just fear wearing a fake mustache. It tells you stories about what might go wrong, paints worst case scenarios in high definition, and then convinces you to sit still, do nothing, and wait for life to crush you. That's not being smart. That's being trapped. Think about it. How many times have you been anxious about something that never even happened? You're lying awake at 2 a.m., rehearsing a conversation, a failure, a rejection, a loss. Your heart is pounding, your brain's on fire, but none of it is real. It's your imagination hijacking your physiology. Your nervous system is reacting to a threat that doesn't even exist outside your head. And that's the con. Worry doesn't prepare you for impact. It drains your energy before impact ever comes. It makes you weaker before you've even faced the challenge. Worry thrives in uncertainty. It feeds off the unknown like a parasite living in your gut. But here's the truth: the future is always unknown. Control is an illusion. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. The difference between people who win and people who stay stuck isn't that the winners have more certainty. It's that they've trained themselves to act despite the uncertainty. Worry tells you to wait for perfect conditions. That's a scam. Perfect conditions don't exist. Progress happens when you move anyway. Worry also pretends it's productive. It's not. You can worry for hours, days, weeks, and you'll still be in the same place. No doors will open. No skills will sharpen. No ideas will execute themselves. You'll just be exhausted and frustrated, wondering why nothing's changing. Because worrying feels like doing something. It gives your mind something to chew on, but it produces nothing. It's mental junk food. A hit of anxiety that keeps you busy, keeps you tired, but keeps you stuck. And here's the darker truth. Worry is addictive. Yeah, people actually get used to it. They start feeling uncomfortable when things aren't going wrong. They start inventing things to stress about. It becomes their comfort zone, their identity, and that's dangerous. Because if you let worry define you, you'll sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. You'll talk yourself out of taking the leap, out of trusting people, betting on yourself. You'll call it being cautious, but it's not caution. It's fear dressed up in logic. Worry also destroys your ability to think clearly. When you're consumed by it, your brain goes into survival mode. You can't innovate, you can't create, you can't lead. You're stuck in fight or flight, trying to manage threats that don't even exist. And that mental bandwidth, that's the same bandwidth you need to solve problems, connect with people, and show up fully in your life. So every minute you spend worrying, you're robbing yourself of the clarity you need to actually move forward. Most people have been conditioned to think that worry is a sign they care. That if you're not anxious, you must not be taking things seriously. That's backwards. True commitment is about focus, not fear. When you care about something, you don't waste time worrying. You build, you learn, you act, you show up, you put skin in the game. You don't sit on the sidelines mentally spiraling. Worry isn't love. Worry isn't strategy. Worry is hesitation in disguise. You can't think your way to success. You have to act. That's the part most people miss. We've built this culture around overthinking, planning, analyzing every possible angle, trying to mentally prepare for every outcome. And while being strategic is valuable, it becomes a trap when you think you can outthink risk, outthink failure, outthink the grind. You can't. There's no mental shortcut to success. No amount of thinking can replace actually doing the work. Getting your hands dirty, falling on your face, and learning through the mess. Thinking feels safe. It feels like progress. You're mapping things out, weighing your options, trying to make the perfect decision. But what you're really doing most of the time is procrastinating. You're stalling, hiding behind preparation because action is scary. Because once you act, Now you're vulnerable. Now there's a chance you fail, you get judged, you get rejected. So what do most people do? They keep it in their heads. They rewrite the plan 1,000 times and never launch. They fantasize about winning without ever stepping into the arena. The hard truth is this: success doesn't care about your thoughts. It doesn't care how smart you are, how much you've visualized, or how well you've imagined every step. Success responds to effort, repetition, and grit. It rewards those who move, even when they're unsure, even when it's ugly, even when they're scared, because that's where real growth happens, in motion. You don't build confidence by thinking. You build confidence by stacking small wins, and those only come from doing. A lot of people confuse clarity with certainty. They wait to feel 100% ready before they act. That's never coming. There is no such thing as perfect clarity before the fact. Clarity comes from engagement. You gain insight by trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. The process reveals the path. You don't need to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. That's where most people freeze. They want guarantees. They want a guarantee of success before they make a move. But life doesn't work like that. You have to commit first, then figure it out as you go. This is especially true in the age of infinite information. You can read 1,000 books, watch 1,000,000 videos, listen to endless podcasts, and still nothing in your life will change if you don't take action. Information without execution is useless. You're just entertaining yourself with inspiration and calling it self-development. The people who rise, the ones who win, are the ones who take what they learn and immediately put it into play. They don't overthink it. They move. And the funny thing is, even when you make mistakes, action beats overthinking every time. You can recover from failure, you can pivot, adjust, adapt. But if you're stuck in your head, there's nothing to fix because you never started. Failure gives you data, overthinking gives you doubt. One teaches you, the other traps you. When you act, you learn what works. When you wait, all you do is imagine what might go wrong. People often say they're waiting for the right time. But that's another lie we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. The right time is rarely obvious in the moment. It only becomes obvious in hindsight. What matters is momentum. Even a small step builds momentum. One small decision followed by another, and suddenly you're moving. And once you're moving, you're harder to stop. But if you stay still, you overanalyze, get overwhelmed, and eventually talk yourself out of doing anything at all. You don't need more thinking. You need more doing, more imperfect action, more trials, more attempts, more real-world feedback. Success is built in motion. It lives in the gym, in the studio, in the cold calls, in the late nights, in the uncomfortable conversations. It lives where most people refuse to go because they're still in their heads, waiting for a sign, waiting to feel ready, waiting for perfect conditions that don't exist. Discomfort is fuel. Use it. Don't fear it. That's one of the most misunderstood truths in the world of growth, performance, and success. We've been conditioned to think that discomfort is a red flag, a signal that we're doing something wrong, that we need to stop, slow down, pull back. But that's backward. Discomfort isn't danger. It's the birthplace of evolution. It's your system telling you're on the edge of something new, something real, something worth pursuing. And instead of running from that feeling, you need to lean into it and let it burn. We live in a comfort-obsessed culture. Everything is about convenience, ease, instant results. We're told to avoid pain at all costs, to seek out the smoothest path, to chase happiness and avoid struggle. But here's the truth: comfort zones are where potential goes to die. Nothing remarkable is built in comfort. Nothing legendary is achieved without resistance. You don't become strong by staying where it's easy. You grow when it's hard, when it's frustrating, when you're stretched, tested, pushed past your limit. The gym is the perfect metaphor for this. You don't build muscle by sitting on the bench. You build it by lifting weight that challenges you, by pushing through reps that hurt, by going one more round when your body's screaming for you to stop. The same applies to every area of life. Business, relationships, creativity, discipline. The real growth happens in those uncomfortable reps. That's when your brain rewires. That's when your resilience is built. That's when you become someone new. People try to avoid discomfort by staying safe. But the truth is, that false sense of safety creates a different kind of pain. The pain of regret, of wasted time, of untapped potential. And that pain is deeper and longer lasting than the temporary sting of discomfort. You can numb discomfort temporarily, with distractions, entertainment, excuses, but you can't escape the consequences of avoiding the work. Every shortcut you take costs you later. Every moment you shy away from discomfort is a moment you shrink instead of grow. Discomfort is feedback. It's a compass. It tells you where the work is. You feel uncomfortable before a hard conversation because honesty matters. You feel uncomfortable starting a new project because it could fail. You feel uncomfortable showing up consistently because it demands discipline. But these are the exact places you need to go. The discomfort isn't a wall. It's a signal. It means you're in the zone where progress lives. If it's not uncomfortable, it's not stretching you. And if it's not stretching you, it's changing you. You've got to reframe how you experience that burn. Stop seeing it as a problem and start seeing it as power. That pit in your stomach, that tightness in your chest, that resistance in your mind, that's not weakness. That's your edge. That's your boundary being tested. That's the doorway to becoming someone you've never been. And the people who make it to the top, they don't avoid that feeling. They chase it. They learn to live in it. They train it until it becomes familiar, even energizing. Discomfort also reveals who's serious. Talk is cheap. Everyone's motivated when it's fun, when the sun's shining, when things are flowing. But when it gets hard, that's when most people bail. That's when the excuses come out. That's when comfort calls them back. But the ones who rise, the ones who stand out, are the ones who stay in it, who keep showing up, who use discomfort as a signal that they're doing something right. They don't just tolerate it. They weaponize it. They build grit, not by escaping pressure, but by facing it daily. You can't simulate growth. You can't download resilience. You earn it through friction, through sweat, through chaos. Every great transformation starts with tension. The caterpillar has to break down to become a butterfly. Steel is forged in fire. You're no different. The pressure you feel isn't there to crush you. It's there to shape you, to mold you, to reveal what you're made of. Fear and growth live in the same place. Lean into it. That's not just a motivational line. It's a truth that most people instinctively run from. Whenever you feel fear, it's usually right at the edge of something meaningful. It shows up the moment you consider leveling up, stepping out, risking embarrassment, or doing something that stretches your identity. That fear you feel. It's not a sign to turn back. It's a sign you're getting close to the real work. Growth doesn't hide behind comfort. It hides behind fear. We've been hardwired to avoid fear. It's a survival instinct. Your brain was built to keep you safe, not successful. So anytime you move toward the unknown, it throws up alarms. It wants to keep you in the familiar because the familiar is predictable. But predictable doesn't lead to progress. If you keep following your comfort, you'll keep recreating your past. If you want something new, something better, you have to be willing to go where fear lives. Into the unknown, into the uncomfortable, in the parts of life that don't come with guarantees. Fear shows up the lewdest right before a breakthrough. That's what makes it tricky. It tries to convince you that something is wrong when in reality, something is waking up. You get nervous before the pitch, the performance, the conversation, the decision. Not because you're weak, but because it matters. That tightness in your chest is a sign you're facing something that can grow you, evolve you, change you. But only if you move through it. Fear wants you to freeze. Growth demands that you act. Most people think they need to eliminate fear before they take action. It's a myth. You'll never be completely fearless. What separates winners from the rest isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to feel fear and move anyway. Courage isn't comfort. Courage is doing what needs to be done, in spite of the fear. That's the muscle you have to train. You don't wait until the fear is gone. You train your nervous system to take the leap while it's there. The problem is, we've been taught to overvalue safety. We're told to take the secure path, minimize risk, avoid discomfort, and as a result, we shrink our lives to fit within the lines that fear draws for us. We stop applying. We stop reaching. We stop speaking. We tell ourselves it's being realistic, but it's not realism. It's fear wearing a logical mask, and the more we obey it, the stronger it gets. It becomes the dominant voice in your head, and soon, you're not even living. You're just managing risk. The truth is, fear and opportunity are often wrapped in the same package. That big scary thing you're avoiding, it probably holds the key to everything you've been asking for. Fear is the dragon guarding the treasure. If you never face it, you never earn the prize. You can read all the books, visualize all the success, journal all the intentions, but until you face your fear head on, nothing transforms. The version of you who has what you want, they've already done the thing you're afraid of. There's a different kind of fear too. The fear of staying the same. That one doesn't hit as hard at first, but it grows over time. It shows up when years go by and you realize you've been playing small, hiding your talents, settling for less. That fear comes with regret, with the quiet H of untapped potential. You have to decide which fear you're going to serve, the fear of failure or the fear of mediocrity. One leads to growth, the other leads to decay. Every time you face a fear and push through it, you shift your identity. You expand what you believe is possible for yourself. You prove to your own nervous system that you can handle more. And once you build that evidence, the next fear doesn't hit as hard. You start to trust yourself. You stop seeing fear as the enemy and start seeing it as a signal that you're on the right track. Not a wall to stop you, but a threshold to cross. You control your focus, not the chaos around you. That's one of the most powerful things you can realize in a world that's constantly trying to steal your attention. We live in the age of distraction. Your phone, your inbox, social media, endless notifications, they're all screaming for your mind. And if you don't take control of your focus, someone else will. You'll spend your days reacting instead of creating, chasing instead of building, surviving instead of thriving. But the truth is, no matter how loud the world gets, your focus is still your choice. Focus is a weapon. It's the sharp edge that cuts through noise and finds the signal. When you learn to direct your attention deliberately, you become dangerous. You stop being tossed around by circumstances. You stop giving energy to things that drain you. You stop letting other people's cows dictate your peace. You create mental space, and in that space you gain power. The power to think clearly, to act decisively, to build consistently. And that power compounds. Most people don't lose because they lack talent or resources. They lose because their attention is scattered. They try to chase 5 things at once and end up making 0 progress. They start something, get distracted, change direction, start again, and call it hustle. But it's not hustle, it's just noise. True momentum only comes when your energy is aligned behind a single aim. Focus isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, fully, without distraction. It's not just time management. It's attention management. It's easy to blame external factors for why we're not focused. The economy, the algorithm, the news, the drama. But the raw truth is that most of the chaos we feel isn't out there. It's inside. It's mental clutter, unfinished business, open loops, insecurity. The more you avoid clarity, the more vulnerable you are to distraction. But once you get clear on what matters, your focus sharpens, your priorities become obvious, and the noise becomes easier to ignore. Not to say the world isn't chaotic, it absolutely is. But that's why focus is more important now than ever. If you wait for life to calm down so you can concentrate, you'll be waiting forever. Focus isn't something you find, it's something you create. You create it by saying no, by setting boundaries, by cutting out what doesn't serve your mission. You create it by choosing where your energy goes every single day. The more intentional you are with your attention, the less control the chaos has over you. When you're focused, your nervous system calms down. You stop constantly switching tasks, jumping from one thing to the next, burning energy on decision fatigue. Your mind becomes a tool instead of a battlefield, and that's when your best work comes out. That's when ideas click. That's when discipline sticks. You're not scrambling anymore. You're moving with precision. You're not overwhelmed. You're aligned. And alignment is a force multiplier. The people who rise to the top in any field aren't the ones who dabble. They're the ones who lock in, who get obsessed, who train their minds to zero in on the target and block everything else out. They know that focus isn't easy. It's a skill. It's a practice. It's a daily decision to turn down the noise and dial into what matters most. And while everyone else is scrolling, complaining, reacting, they're building, they're sharpening, they're getting better while the rest of the world is distracted. It starts with awareness. Noticing where your attention is going, tracking what's draining you, and then making the hard choices to redirect it. That means cutting the fluff, stepping away from drama, taking breaks from mindless consumption. It means creating environments that support focus, not just physically, but mentally. Surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to level up, not people who constantly pull you back into the noise. Discipline beats motivation every time. Motivation is flashy. It feels good. It's exciting. It gives you that initial spark, but it's temporary. It fades the moment things get hard, the moment life doesn't go as planned, the moment you don't feel like showing up. Discipline, on the other hand, is silent, consistent, and unshakable. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't need hype. Discipline shows up regardless, and that's why it's the foundation of every long-term success story. People waste too much time waiting for motivation to strike. They scroll through videos, read quotes, listen to speeches, looking for that emotional hit that'll get them moving. And yeah, it works for a moment. But the second real resistance shows up, the motivation disappears. Because motivation is emotional and emotions are unstable. You can't build anything solid on something that fluctuates every day. Discipline is different. Discipline is a decision. It's a commitment you make and honor whether you feel like it or not. You don't rise by doing what's easy. You rise by doing what's necessary. Discipline is about showing up when it's boring, when it's inconvenient, when no one's watching, when the rewards aren't instant. It's brushing your teeth in the dark. It's writing the page when your brain is fried. It's sticking to the plan when every part of you wants to bail. Discipline is the voice in your head that says, "We do this anyway." And the more you listen to that voice, the louder it gets. What most people call talent is really discipline stacked over time. It's reps. It's repetition. It's the grind that no one wants to talk about because it's not glamorous. It's the reason elite performers keep winning. Not because they're more gifted, but because they've trained themselves to be consistent, even in chaos. They don't negotiate with their goals. They don't need a good mood to do the work. They've built habits so strong they work even on bad days. That's what makes them unstoppable. Discipline is also freedom. Most people think discipline is restriction, like it's some kind of punishment. But the opposite is true. Discipline gives you control. It gives you structure. It gives you the ability to do what matters most without getting pulled off track by every temptation, distraction, or emotional dip. The person with discipline doesn't need to be told what to do. They've already decided. They live by their values, not their impulses, and that creates momentum most people never experience. It's also important to understand that discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a skill. It's like a muscle, and like any muscle, it gets stronger the more you train it. That means starting small, being consistent, and pushing your threshold just a little further each time. Every time you follow through on a commitment, even when it's hard, you're proving to yourself that you can trust your own word. That builds identity. That builds internal strength. That builds resilience that doesn't shake when the mood shifts. There will always be days you don't want to do the work. That's not weakness, that's human nature. But those are the days that count the most. Anyone can show up when it's easy. The champions are the ones who show up when it's not. They don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect conditions. They create progress by being consistent when everything else says stop. They know that every rep counts. Every step matters, and that consistency compounds. You don't have to feel amazing to be effective. You just have to be reliable. Reliable to yourself, to your goals, to the process. Discipline is how you build self-respect. You stop lying to yourself. You stop making promises and breaking them. You start becoming the kind of person who follows through what? No matter identity shift changes everything. It's not about being perfect. It's about being relentless, showing up, staying in the game up, doing the work even when the fire goes out.